Hello, I think there might only be two people here with me so far. So I'll just wait a little bit to see if anybody else wanders in since I'm a few minutes before my start time. But I hope you all are doing well. I hope I sound okay. I hope I'm not too loud or too quiet. Let me know. And I hope you guys, it's been a little while since I've been on a live stream, so I hope you guys have been having a good few weeks. Hi, Javine, it's good to see you. I'm great, Hitchhiker Hobbit. How are you? I'm doing well. Okay, good. Not so loud. I like to start off quiet because I'm always afraid that if like my sound is too high, I'm gonna be screaming at you guys. So I always kind of start with my voice pitched a little bit low, and then when everybody confirms that my mic isn't too loud, then I'm like, okay, now I can talk normal. So hopefully this is a better volume for you as well. I don't even mind if we end up doing a very small and low key live stream. 9:15. That's not fair after concert time. That should have been like a nice sleep in day. I'm assuming, Hitchhiker Habit, I'm assuming that Sunday is a day off for you, and there's nothing worse than like your body waking you up early on a day when you could be sleeping in. Like that's just the worst. Hello, AK. I'm glad you could be here. Welcome. I hope you've been doing well. I know it's been a few weeks since I've been on a live stream, so I hope you've been having a good few weeks. My last one was the Wings one back in October, so. Oh, that's awesome, Hitchhiker Hobbit, that you had this weekend off. It was perfect. Yeah, I've had a couple random days off from work too, so it's been like a pretty slow week for me, which is nice because normally my weeks get pretty busy with work. So it's been nice to be able to focus on some projects and get some stuff done. So. Oh, Javine, I'm really glad to hear that. That's awesome. Did you? I know that you. I know that I think you and maybe even a couple other people in the live chat have been talking about like making new army friends like out in the wild, and I hope that's been going really well. As always, this is going to be a very casual chatting stream today. So I don't really have anything too crazy planned. But I know we've had like a lot of BTS news and a lot of different like BTS events and things like that that have kind of been happening recently. So we can, just sort of chat about those things and just sort of have like a fun casual chat like we always do. So nothing too crazy today. Just wanted to stop in and do a live and say hi since, like I said, it's been a while since I've done one, since my last one was the Wings one. So, oh no, AK, that's so sad. Did you all hear me? Did you all hear me screaming? Like I said, it's when I was like in my last either my Wings live stream or I think it was the Wings live stream because we would have been talking about Awake, where I said if Jin did Awake, I was gonna like absolutely freak out and you guys would hear me from wherever you were in the world. Yes, I freaked out. I was so happy. I love Awake so much. And I was really hoping that he would do it because it was the only song of his that he hadn't done. So it was like this very obvious like blind spot in the concerts. But I was so happy that he did it and it made me so excited. So I love Awake so much. And it was so meaningful because as a big Wings fan, I've seen like the Wings concert and the Wings documentary series, Burn the Stage, like a million times. And so I always think about Jin talking about singing Awake, and, feeling like he wasn't a very good live singer and all of that stuff back in 2016, 2017. And I just really want, there's a desire in me to be able to take like 2016, 2017 Jin and show him 2025 Jin singing Awake and be like, look at this. Like, right? Right? You could hear my joy from all the way in your own hometowns. And Javine, that is so exciting. That's really great that you will get to meet up with some people and go see Hope on the Stage in the theater. That's really awesome. I'm really glad to hear that. Hitchhiker Hobbit, yes, I am so with you. The Truth Untold, oh my goodness. Like that totally, I was not expecting that. And just, so beautiful. I love when Jin does I Will Come to You. Anytime he's done it, this was true in the the first concerts he did in Go Yang, the ones that he just did now for the encore, and it was true when I saw him in person. It was so quiet whenever he was doing those songs that you could hear a pin drop, and I love that the same was true for Truth Untold. Just like hearing people just like totally just absorbed in the moment of listening to him sing was just like amazing. Ugh. I'm very excited to hear how your experience goes when you go to see Hope on the Stage with some other army. So that'll be really exciting to hear all about. We also, I'm sure, even if you haven't had a chance to see the concerts either on when they were live or when they did the delayed streaming, I'm sure a lot of you probably heard that we're also getting a Run Seokjin episode tour movie, but I'm not sure if that's going to be like a concert movie the way like Hope on the Stage in the theaters is now, if it's going to be kind of like that, or if it's going to be like when he did the Amsterdam concert, like maybe it'll just be like a re-showing of one of the concerts but in theaters, or if it's going to be like a making of movie, kind of like some of the other members did, making of movies for tours and the albums and things like that. So I guess we'll have to find out. All right. So, like I said, my casual live streams. There's really no agenda. There's really nothing to move through because we're just, here chatting together. But let me get my housekeeping out of the way, and then we can really dive into just whatever we want to talk about for this week's stream. But couple of updates from me. So I was able to finally get my mono video up. So this is my video for Namjoon, technically celebrating his release from military service, even though obviously, 5 months fashionably late. So this is my video as part of the ongoing Welcome Home BTS series for Namjoon, specifically talking about his mixtape Mono. So that literally just came out yesterday, and the response to it has been really, really great. So thank you so much to everybody who's watched it and interacted with it. It was a much longer video than I was hoping to make. I was hoping to kind of keep it within the same length as the ones that I did for Jin and for Hobie, which were both under 20 minutes, and there was just so much to talk about with trying to analyze all of Mono that it ended up becoming much longer. So it was a lot of work, but the response has been really, really great. So I'm really, really, really grateful. And I'm still working on the last two Welcome Home BTS videos. Those are still in progress. I'm not sure when those will be up, so I will keep you posted on those. I'm just reading the chat that was going on while I was talking. Yeah, that's a really good point, Hitchhiker Hobbit. The Jin store just kind of sprang into Jin's mind and was like, here you go, here's a tour. So there's maybe not like a tremendous lead up to that. But it'd be interesting if, to still have something that includes some of the making of. I don't know. I love that stuff so much. I've always been a fan of that. Like even with BTS concerts, I've always loved like the day of rehearsals and things like that. So. Oh, thank you, Javine. Thank you so much. I'm so glad you enjoyed the video. I did have a lot of fun putting it together. It's been so nice being able to talk about Mono with people and, see what their favorite songs are. And I just was answering a comment before I came on live where somebody said that Mono speaks like so differently to different people. Like we all take a different interpretation. And I totally agree. And it's really interesting to me because Mono is like an album that I love so much, and I listen to it, so much to kind of center myself for when I need it. It's, so I have a very specific interpretation of that album and its songs. And it's really interesting then to talk to other people and hear what their favorite songs are and what they take away from it. And that's just really, really interesting. I love hearing kind of like what those songs mean to different people, because we all bring something to the table with that. So I've had a lot of fun talking to everybody and getting their opinions on Mono too. It's been really, really cool. And so then the last bit of housekeeping that I have here is my next live stream, and I do want to get some opinions on this. I do have next Sunday off, but then I was a little bit worried I'd be a little ill prepared for this concept. So I thought about doing the 23rd for my next live stream, because what I would like to do is do a BTS Universe deep dive, and I was sort of planning that around the time of the anniversary of HYYH Part 2, which is on the 30th of November. So I thought doing it the 23rd would be kind of, we'd be getting pretty close. But I know that we're starting to get really close to the holidays as well. So for those of us here in the United States, that's a couple days before Thanksgiving. I wasn't sure if that would be like not a super accessible day for people. So I'm open to suggestions if we wanted to do it another day, or even if we wanted to like push it back a little bit until after the holidays. But I thought it would be fun to just dive into the BTS Universe concept together. And thought that HYYH Part 2's anniversary would be a great time to do that. And we've been talking a little bit on the Discord server about kind of how the BU can be really intimidating, and there's a lot of stuff that goes into it. So obviously we wouldn't be able to unpack all of the BU in like one single live stream, but I thought it would be kind of fun if we could all sort of do it together and just sort of unpack some of the elements of the BU together. So yeah, let me know what you guys think about that. Oh, thank you, AK. Yeah, The BU, I think, is so overwhelming, especially for those of us who are kind of like latter day armies. You know, like I became an army in early 2020. So, you know, by the time I jumped in with Map of the Soul, you know, even though there are still kind of some elements that feel like they borrow from the BU, you know, by that point, most of like the BU heavy stuff was kind of behind them. So I think for those of us who kind of didn't become army within like the period of time in which the BU is really flourishing, it can get really overwhelming. And there's so much stuff that actually isn't even like available anymore to really do your research on the BU. So that makes it really hard as well. But yeah, I'd really love to dive in. I'd love to talk about all of the different elements and break it down with you guys. So as long as the 23rd of November isn't like a really terrible day to do that for people, that was kind of my thought of when we could do that. And I'm sure we'll revisit it again in future, but that'll be a good starting point at least. Yay, okay, awesome. We've already been talking about Discord on the about the charts that I'm inevitably going to be making, and including in the live stream. So I will be looking forward to making some new fun graphics for us. Hi there, Enthused Beast. Glad to see you, and I'm glad that that would work out for you as well. All right, so like I said, nice and casual today. Just catching up on anything that I've missed over the past few weeks, and just talking about you know, our normal stuff in general, just our BTS news and theories and fun stuff like that. So yeah, nothing too concretely planned for me. Like I said, I know it's been kind of a lively few weeks in terms of BTS content, and on my housekeeping screen, as you can see, I have the pictures from Jin's encore concerts. When first night we got an appearance from JK and Hobie, and then the second night, of course, we got ones from Tae and Jimin. So I love those pictures; they're just so cute, of just the boys all having fun together. So it was nice to get a bit of you know, we didn't get like the full OT7, but we got like a little bit of the taste of just like a little bit of the boys performing again. Awesome, Javine. Yeah, that's no problem. I hope you enjoy the discussion as like a nice background on your walk. And I hope the weather is pleasant where you are. This morning here in Florida, it started off extremely gray and rainy, but now it is nice and bright and sunny. Right, Hitchhiker Hobbit? It was just like, it was so much joy, and just, it made me, like, my mom and I were both watching. We had like the biggest grins on our faces. I know, okay, I would give anything to see Yoongi. And I don't begrudge him like the time that, you know, I think they've all kind of taken their own unique ways to kind of get back into themselves after their military service. So I definitely don't begrudge him that, but it's just like I miss him so bad. I want to see him. Oh no, Javine, I'm sorry to hear that the weather is horrible over there. I feel like a lot of people jumped right from, I remember we were talking in the summer, probably even when I got back from Dallas, we were talking about how hot it was and how we were all experiencing like a heat wave. And I feel like a lot of us jumped right from the heat wave into like, and now it is winter. It's like, I feel like a lot of us just skipped right past fall. I'm originally from Pennsylvania, so I still have a lot of friends there. And I really feel like my friends went from texting me about how hot it was to how cold it was within like a couple of days, which tended to happen a lot in Pennsylvania. I remember that from being there for most of my life. You would just jump right from hot to cold, but I feel like it's been especially extreme this year for a lot of people. I hope the weather cooperates with you when you go to see Hope on the Stage, because that's always really sad when you're trying to go out and like have like a fun event like that and meet up with people and the weather's a concern. So I definitely will be crossing my fingers for you that the weather cooperates then. Also, I hope my screens have been updating for you guys, because I have like the little preview on in my like YouTube Creator Studio that shows me just kind of like what's going on, and it has not updated at all. It keeps showing like the same stuff. So I'm hoping that it's just like the YouTube Creator Studio is just being a slowpoke and that everything actually is updating for you guys. Because right now it's still showing me on like the very first screen, like my starting soon screen, when I look at that preview, even though within my streaming software it's showing the actual slide that I'm on. You never know. The YouTube Creator Studio is wild sometimes. So okay, good. I'm glad that it actually is changing for you guys. I was like, I really hope it's not just sitting on that same screen the whole time, but it must just be glitching out on the preview. The preview, I think, is like severely delayed, like by several minutes, but that's okay. Okay, awesome. Good. I'm glad it has been showing, going through. It's not like I have that many slides. Like, it's not like when I was talking about wings or anything and I had all those slides made, but still, I'm like, I wanted to actually do it. Okay, good, awesome. Thank you so much, guys, for letting me know that. I'm really glad. So yeah, I think, like I said, I think the thing is just severely delayed on the preview screen, but as long as it's changing, that's what I care about. I know we were having discussions in my Discord server, especially me and Hitchhiker Hobbit. We were like the concert watching buddies. Did anybody else get a chance to, either if you didn't catch like anything from Jin's concerts? I know a lot of stuff was posted online, especially with the boys being there. Did anybody catch stuff even independently of the concert themselves? Like see anything on social media? Hitchhiker Rabbit, for real. Yeah, technology is, especially when I do my stuff, technology is always wilding. I actually had a pretty easy time of it uploading the mono video, which was a shock after like the struggle of, like, you guys know my struggle of the Dionysus video and how it kept like downloading without sound and doing all this other stuff. So like, huzzah, I was actually able to post it like normal to, when I did mono yesterday. So hooray. Right, it was, I had so much fun with Jin's concerts and getting to see the way he changed up the set list and getting to see, like, the cameos from the guys were just precious. Like, I mean, they came up with the cutest ways to be a part of everything, and I just loved how much fun they seemed to be having with each other and all the joy. Like, being able to get a performance of So What with the boys running around and throwing water at each other was so healing. Like, it really was. It just reminded me of like Suwuzu, for instance, the Suwuzu muster, when they were running around throwing water at each other, and all of like the previous concerts when they throw water on the audience and during the medley and things like that. It was made me so happy. Oh, that's a really good point. AK, just if it goes into the theaters, you want to be able to kind of experience it kind of fresh. That's a really good point. um I really hope it does. I really hope that that's what we're getting, that we get one of these concerts in theaters, because my local theater didn't show like any of the stuff for the BTS movie week. And so I'm really hoping that, there's another chance to see a concert movie and that maybe it actually comes to my local theater this time, because that would be amazing. I know, me too, Hitchhiker Hobbit. It's definitely you so bad. Like, and I get it where V was like, nah, that's an older song. But I'm like, come on, please. I love that song so much. And I love when they performed it, when they did like the 2018 prom party thing, and just loved that performance so much. So I was really hoping. Hi, Don't Feed the Bears. Glad to see you. Hi, Brodiger. Thank you for being here. Javine, it really is amazing. I would still really love to do a video on that. I know we talked about that a while ago, of how I would love to do a video just kind of about like the relationship between BTS and ARMY, and I wrote a blog post about it once a few years ago, about just like how powerful that is, that we are all kind of connected by this, and I'd still really like to do that video. That's something that's definitely on my list for the new year, most likely. And thank you all so much to everybody who's joined, who I haven't really had a chance to say hello to yet. I'm really glad you're here. Thanks for joining us. I even saw, in regards to the idea of the movie, I saw a few people speculate if it was going to be released around Jin's birthday, which makes a lot of sense. So that would be really cool too if they did that. I honestly, I'm kind of hoping for that as well, because I work in retail, and so the closer we get to Christmas, the busier I get, of course. And so I'm like, if we could have that in early December, that would be great. Right? Yeah, we could start it off as like a live stream just like this, and sort of, have like an in-depth talk about that. And then we could, make it into a video. I'm definitely open to something like that. And I have a lot, this is something that I'll get into probably after the holidays. Is I would love to hear feedback from you guys and like things that you want to see, kind of as we get into like a new year of videos, and like now that BTS are all out of the military, I'm definitely, something that I already know that I'm not going to do with the channel is like when their new album and stuff comes out, is like I'm definitely not going to transition to like reaction content, just because that's really not my style. So it's like when the album comes out, I'm not going to be reacting to things. I'm always going to stick with like the theorizing and, making videos like that. But I'm definitely open to, as I kind of transition into doing stuff about BTS's new work, if indeed, if they do give us work that we can kind of theorize on, I definitely am open to theories and suggestions about how we want to do that. So I know I'm right there with you. I was actually just talking about that with somebody. I was responding to one of the comments on my video that I just did about mono, where I said I would love to be able to have a conversation with BTS, and because we were talking about mono, especially with Namjoon, because I just feel like they would all have such interesting things to say. So it's like I would love. I've been privileged enough to see both BTS in concert and Jin in concert, and I would definitely love to see them again. I'm honestly manifesting that for everybody in 2026 or 2027, whenever the concert happens. I really, really hope that every ARMY who hasn't seen them gets a chance to see them. But I would also really just love to like meet them in person. Like, oh, Javine, that's so nice that it's like the day after Jin's. That's so sweet. Hitchhiker Hobbit, yeah, you're very right. Like any reacting that I do to like new BTS content is gonna be when we chat about it in a live stream. kind of like we did when I live streamed like right after Jin's album Echo came out. We ended up just kind of really organically talking about the album. That's definitely like the type of reaction that I would want to do, is just like talking about stuff with everybody. Because I just, yeah, when I watch music videos, like new BTS music videos, I'm not an interesting reactor. Like I literally sit and watch with like laser focus. Like I would be the most boring person to watch a reaction of. Hitchhiker Hobbit. That's so funny. The concert must have been like in your mind when you went to sleep. I always have like very silly dreams about BTS. Like it'll just be like BTS doing like really normal day to day tasks. Although sometimes I do have kind of sad dreams about BTS. I had a kind of sad dream about them after the Grammy ceremony. Forget if it was the Dynamite nomination or the Butter nomination, and I had some really sad dreams that night. Casually hanging out at the beach. Those are the best BTS dreams, when you have a dream about like just like palling around with BTS and just like being like, BTS are my friends. I love those dreams. Oh yes, I definitely hope you can get a ticket 2024 I'm here. Yeah, there is nothing in the entire world like a BTS concert. It's the best. So yeah, I'm honestly I know there's been a lot of rumors. I don't know if you guys have seen like some of the rumors and whispers and theories about, where they're gonna be for this tour. And I've heard things like, oh, it's gonna be like this massive like 65 stop tour. I don't know if any of that is true. And I've kind of, my attitude right now is, I guess we'll find out when we find out. I don't know, because I'm also not sure as well if they're going to be, we have details about the album. We know that when the album's going to be coming out, we know approximately, of course, not the like exact date, but I don't know if they will be announcing the tour like after that album, because I'm thinking back to when Map of the Soul came out, or I should say Map of the Soul 7, and they announced the Map of the Soul tour. They announced that tour, I think, around January, because I became an ARMY that year, but in like February. So the tour had already been announced. So I think they kind of announced the tour like before the album came out in like January, and then the album came out in like February. So I'm not sure if we will be running on like a similar schedule with this album, or if, it'll be a little bit more. Yeah. Right? As I have it, sources say, cite those sources, please. So I have no idea. Yeah, so there's a lot of false information being spread, um, and a lot of things where they've been saying that they'll be going to this city or that city, but so much of that is very, very unconfirmed. So, hello, Michelle. Thank you for being here. I'm glad you all are here. If any of you are new to the live streams, I recognize some of the names of people who have kind of just wandered in recently. But if any of you are new to our streams, where are you listening from? I always like, we're a really diverse group here, even though we're like a very small group. We tend to come from all over the world. So I love hearing where you all are located. Yeah, Hitchhiker Hobbit. That's a good question. I don't know for previous concerts. I might that might be something you can look up, like in the Wikipedia articles for their concerts. With Map of the Soul 7 and the Mott's tour, like I said, I feel like that one was announced in like January, because it had already been announced when I became an ARMY, and I became an ARMY like a week before Mott 7 came out, and I believe the concert. I don't know though, because the concert was supposed to start by like March. Like I feel like March 2020 was when some of those first concerts in Korea were supposed to be, maybe early April, and obviously everything got canceled because of COVID. But I feel like that would be a really, really short turnaround between when the tour was announced and when it actually started. So I don't know if they had already previously announced the Mott's concert, because that was just slightly before my time. Oh, awesome. Some more viewers in the UK and in Europe. Yeah, you guys in Europe have definitely been kind of deprived. And I know it was like a lot of people were very excited when Jin went to the UK and Amsterdam for just that reason. Because I know the UK has been definitely, the UK and Europe in general have been, definitely been kind of getting the short end of the stick, as the saying goes, when it comes to other concerts and stuff. So I really, and like some of the concerts in Europe in the past have been so iconic. So it's like I really hope that whatever their tour is looking like, whatever stops they're making, I really do hope that Europe gets some attention this time. Yeah, I agree with Enthused Beast. I'm sure there will be at least one concert in Europe somewhere. Yeah, it would be really interesting. I know that there's some of those like kind of unconfirmed rumors have been adding in places that they've never been before, which would be really, really super exciting. But I know also that sometimes there's limitations in terms of like venues that are big enough to hold the crowd that they would get and things like that, and certain limitations with the infrastructure and things like that that don't really like support big concerts in certain areas. So, and I know very, very little about that. So. Oh no, Hitchhiker Hobbit, that would be like the worst luck ever. Oh my gosh, I'm hoping for you that you should be good in February. Because I don't think that they would like start touring before their album came out. So, and I'm not even sure. Something that I've been really curious about too is would they tour with this album? Because like I'm not even sure. Like would it be a tour like Mott's? You know what I mean? Because I don't even know if the album is going to be an album like Mott's. Is it going to be more of like a greatest hits type tour like the way PTD was? So, I mean, there's still a lot of questions that we have no answers to and probably, unfortunately, won't have answers to until probably we start getting into the actual minutia of the album releasing. Because I mean, I haven't heard anything specific about what the album is going to entail. Like, are we going to have subunit songs? Are we going to have vocal line and rap line songs? Are we going to have individual songs? I think all of that's still kind of up in the air. And good luck, Javine, as you go out into the cold. I hope you're bundled up really well. You honestly, Hitchhiker Hobbit, you probably are right about that though, because I figure any tour they do is gonna start in Korea and then will probably go to Japan. So, and then they might even, because I know sometimes they almost go in like a big circle. So they might do Korea, Japan, then maybe I don't know if they'll hit anywhere, like if they would go back to like Saudi Arabia, for instance, or back to Australia. They did Australia when they were doing the Wings tour, so I don't know if they'll hit any place like that. And then they might come to the States and then Europe, kind of do just like a big circle. So that might be what happens. I don't know. Yeah, I think that's their goal as well. Enthused Beast is, I think it's just go to as many armies as possible. Yeah, and I know a lot of armies in India have really, really been hoping that they would eventually go there, and several different BTS members have said they would really like to. So, yeah, I've heard that about the market in India, that there's been a lot of just like K-pop expansion in India and in like some of the countries around there like Bangladesh and Nepal and things like that, and like definitely a lot of K-pop explosion there. Oh, that's really interesting too, Hitchhiker Hobbit. Yeah, that's it, and it's interesting because I know that I remember this from their 2020 Festa dinner. It was actually something that Jin said. He was talking about, because they were talking about all of the concerts being like delayed and or canceled because of COVID, and he was talking about how far in advance they had to plan the Map of the Soul tour and like how far in advance they had to book venues. So that kind of raises the interesting question as well of like, are venues booked already? Like, do they have those venues already planned out? or will they be planning them out for like a future time period? There's still a lot of questions that we don't have answers to, and unfortunately, like I said, probably won't have answers to for a little while. But there's been so much speculation that it's kind of hard to not have the actual facts. Yeah, and I think obviously again as part of like the rampant speculation, people are definitely, kind of being very like they're picking like the biggest numbers that they can possibly pick. But I have heard so many like articles and things of speculation basically being like the biggest tour ever, so like I think this is probably it almost has to be like a stadium only tour. I think that's the only way that they even can make the tickets like somewhat accessible. Like, because otherwise there would be no way that we could do this on like smaller, arena capacity and things like that. And honestly, I feel like to Hitchhiker Hobbit's point about like booking the stadiums to avoid football season, I feel like that is when like Wembley and stuff were. Why does like I feel like Wembley being in a little bit in the fall kind of sticks in my head when they did Love Yourself there. I would have to look that up because I don't 100% remember the dates. I always get really fuzzy on dates when it was stuff that happened before I was Army and that I was consuming after the fact, but I feel like I remember that being a little bit later. Hi, Metaloop. It's good to see you. I'm glad you could be here. We've just been casually talking like always. You haven't missed too much. But yeah, I've heard that Hybe has definitely made efforts to expand into India. So I can definitely see them trying to get a concert and there's been like a lot of different like BTS pop-up shops in that part of the world and a lot of different like events and things there. So I can definitely see them wanting to pave the way for a concert. Enthused Beast, I like that. I do think they need to take him to see the Aurora Borealis because he's been asking so nicely. So I really want him to get a chance to go. Ooh, that's a good point about the World Cup. Yeah, that's a really good point as well. And I know this shouldn't affect them because it's in February. The Olympics are also happening, but that should be well before they're doing any type of tour work. So yeah, Hitchhiker Hobbit. I'm not a sports person, so I never know. I never know when sports are supposed to be ever. Like here in the United States, when football season sneaks up, I'm like, oh man, how is it football season already? I thought we were done with that. Yeah, Don't Feed the Bears. I agree. I always kind of hold out hope that they'll bring like one of the BTS pop ups a little bit closer to where I'm located, but yeah, it has not happened yet. It's kind of sad because Orlando, Florida was supposed to be one of their stops for the Map of the Soul tour. And I actually had tickets for that because the venue that they were performing at is literally like half an hour away from where I live. So I was really, really hoping that we would see like another tour in Orlando, another stop in Orlando, or even just something related to BTS in Florida. I mean, Jin came to Tampa when he did his tour, so like that was good. I liked that. But it's just like more BTS stuff in this part of the states would be really nice because I know they tend to do a lot of stuff either out west, like in California, or up north, like when they do like New York and Chicago and some of those things. But I would love if they came a little bit down to the southern area. It is really strange to me that there aren't any like pop-up stores in the UK or just in certain regions in general. I'm not sure if that's because they don't have venues to support them, but like that seems kind of strange because I feel like you could do a pop-up much more easily than you could do other things. So I'm not sure. I don't know. Oh, good, Javine. I'm glad it wasn't as cold as you thought it would be, but the rain is still icky. AK brings up a good point that maybe it's for our benefit that some of us don't get the pop-ups. Maybe that is what protects our wallets a little bit. Right? Don't feed the bears. Too many cities that want BTS. Too many cities that require BTS content. Which is why I'm glad that we do have the ability to watch the concerts live streamed. I really am glad that they kept that up after COVID ended. But I mean, nothing beats being able to go in person. But it's so great that we have the opportunity to be able to see the fact that even just with Jin's concert, not only did they stream the encore, but they streamed the first concerts, and they, having the Amsterdam concert in theaters, and then whatever we're going to get in theaters in December. I like that they're doing their best to make that a little bit more accessible. I remember getting a lot of surveys from Big Hit after a lot of the live stream concerts that were happening during COVID. So like Bang Bang Con the Live and Map of the Soul 1 and Suwuzu. And every time I would get one of those surveys, they'd go, "Oh, how do you want to see concerts?" And it was in person, live stream, or both. And I'm like, both, obviously. Yeah, Hitchhiker Hobbit, I'm right there with you. Like we were talking about related to Jin's concert on the Discord server. I really do wish that we had a little bit more flexibility with those videos on demand. It is, it's such a bummer. I mean, I love having the delayed streaming. Don't get me wrong. I like that we have the option to watch it live and watch it like on the delay. But it is a bummer that we don't have the ability to rent it a little bit more with a little bit more flexibility, and be able to watch it at better times. Oh, that's really strange. Don't feed the bears that they don't have those surveys for you guys in Canada. I don't actually even know if they still really do them. I feel like that was maybe more fact gathering during COVID, because I haven't seen one in a very long time. Even with doing different live stream like concerts and events and stuff, I haven't gotten them. That's I always felt compelled to take those surveys when they did them, because that question was always worded with the option as if you didn't want to see live concerts anymore. Like you could either pick live concerts, live streamed concerts, or both. And I was always like, I definitely want to make it clear that like we still love and cherish live concerts, because I was always worried that there would be a decision in there to be like, well, we don't need to do live concerts anymore. We'll just do them all online. It'll just all be live stream. And I'm just like, no, because we were hearing at the time how badly the boys wanted to go and perform on stage. So I'm like, no. We definitely, like, the boys need to get back on stage. They are desperate for it. So yes, please. Yeah, I really wish we could have a little bit of a rental. I mean, even if they had all of these concerts and things available and you could only rent them like once every, pick a metric of time, whether it's like, once a month or once every other month or whatever, and you rent it for like a week or whatever, that would be great, because then people would have the flexibility of like, hey, you can rent it, but you don't own it. Like I'm a big fan of actually being able to own something, like own a piece of media. And if I can get something on DVD, I always opt to do that, because I love having the physical copies, especially because like straight up Weverse just does not work for me sometimes, and just refuses to play, especially if I try. I've tried to play it like on my TV with like different devices, like Google Chrome and things like that, like the Chromecast, and it just doesn't work. So I always prefer to have the physical media. But I do think that being able to just have the option to like rent a rental VOD would be really nice to have, even if it's not something you actually own. Hello, Alicia. Thank you for being here. Oh yeah, Hitchhiker Hobbit, that would actually drive me insane. Because that was something that I was really disappointed with too when they finally released PTDLA, which of course I wanted to buy because that was the concert that I went to. They did the same thing where it's like there's a physical pack with all of the stuff in it, but then the digital code, and it's like, okay, that's great, but I really wish I had this on DVD so I have a physical copy. And then we get into the exact issue that you just mentioned of just like they sell out the physical pack, but you can't get the digital code to watch the actual concert, which is just, ugh, that is so frustrating to me. Ooh, yeah, like a subscription would be really interesting too. Yeah, I mean, especially because like we have like they have the Weverse digital membership thing now. It's like they could easily do some kind of like addition or something to that where it's like, hey, this also grants you access to like a library of concert content. That is, I'm gonna go on like a tiny little micro baby rant here, but it's like that is something that really annoys me as somebody whose whole thing is like, you know, teaching other, and I don't like using the word teaching because I'm not a teacher, but like bringing other armies with me on my journey to like analyze BTS stuff is so much of older BTS like content and concerts and media in general are all kind of behind paywalls now, or they're like impossible to get. Like I have a lot of BTS's older stuff that were purchased as Christmas gifts for me by my parents that they literally had to hunt down on eBay because you can't get it anymore. And there's so many things on those, like for instance, memories of 2017, memories of 2018, some of those older memories discs. There is so much information on those discs about how certain music videos were made or like what the process of certain things were that you just can't get anywhere. And so I'm always very frustrated because I believe that like anytime you become an army, whenever you became an army, you should be able to go back into BTS's history and catch up on what you missed. And so when there is stuff that you just can't get anymore, that makes me so sad for armies who do want to do their research and do want to consume all the content because you just can't without like great difficulty. And that just, that makes me so angry. Yeah, Hitchhiker Hobbit, I feel the same way, and it's always a bummer because like a lot of what I've gotten from eBay is very good quality, but like there are plenty of instances where things have been opened and like photo cards have been taken out. I have a piece of BTS's older media that is like pristine except for the fact that a photo is cut out of one of the photo books, like things like that, and it's just like I would love to be able to buy that on the Weaver shop, get it officially, and know that it is like pristine and mint in box, you know? But it's like, we don't have that luxury, and it makes me really sad. Hi, BTS World. Good to see you. Thank you for being here. Yeah, Hitchhiker Hobbit. I remember when you posted that chart on Discord. That is crazy to me, especially for when it's digital and you don't actually even own those copies. And it's like, I'm all for making it as accessible as possible so that you have the option of like, if you do just want to buy a digital copy, that's great. But I wish they also gave us the option of having the physical copies, kind of even just for the reason, like I just said, of just like Weaver sometimes just hates me and doesn't want to play content. It's really frustrating to think I bought that content. Now I can't even watch it. Oh, that's really interesting. Don't Feed the Bears for the K-pop stores. I feel like there is one fairly local to where I'm at that I've never had a chance to visit. I'd be curious if they do have any older BTS merch there, because that would be very interesting to be able to find like old DVDs and things like that. And the thing too is every now and then the Weaver shop will like have some of that older, you know, older content, and it's like, did you find this in a warehouse somewhere? Why are you all of a sudden selling this again? And it's just like, I know you have the ability to sell this, please just sell it. That would be awesome, Hitchhiker Hobbit. Thank you, because it's it can almost be overwhelming, and sometimes even a little bit confusing, what concerts were when or what content you can find where. I really wish that was a little bit more accessible to people because, yeah, you can't catch up if you don't know what you're catching up on. Ooh, Don't Feed the Bears. That is awesome, especially because I know the memories of from previous years still can be kind of expensive on the Weaver shop, even though they're from previous years. It's kind of crazy how high the prices can still be. I think I have every memories of disc. I know definitely from 2018 forward, but do I have also 2017? I think I might also have 2017. I think that was a Christmas gift from last year. So I would still like to do 2016 because you all know I love Wings. So I would love to have the memories of 2016 as well. Yeah, Hitchhiker Hobbit, that is fair. That is fair and valid. And so to AK's comment, in my head, this is what I picture in my mind when I think about the warehouse like of merchandise that Hybe probably has. I picture it as the last scene of when they take in Indiana Jones when they take the Ark of the Covenant into like the museum warehouse. That's what I picture as like the BTS merchandise warehouse where all of the merchandise is. That is not at all what it is in reality, but that is what my brain sees. Yeah, Javine, I'm right there with you. It's like I want all of those. I think the first one, like the memories of DVDs, I think the first one was 2015, but it's like there is so much stuff on there, and it's BTS history, and it's cute moments, and it's just like things that are just so valuable and so good. And I just, yep, the winter and summer packages as well. I am right there with you. I have, I think, one winter package, and the idea of how much there is to buy to have those is like a little overwhelming, but also like the collector in me feels incomplete. Like I'm just like, I need those. So much content is confusing. Yeah, Don't Feed the Bears, I'm right there with you. And it's hard too because sometimes, like, when I first became an army, I would watch like a lot of videos, like people doing edits of certain things. And it was always like, oh my gosh, where is that video from? Where is that clip from? Is that from a Weverse live, or at that time it was V Live? Is that from a V Live? Is that from a Run BTS? What is it from? And I would do research, and I'd be like, oh, that's all from like a winter package or a summer package, and I'd be like, great. I have no way of getting that. And it is so difficult to, when you see a random photo and you have no idea where the photos even come from. Yeah, it's a lot. And yeah, I mean, and then that's not even counting like all of their live broadcasts and things like that. And oh man, different versions of different concerts is always a thing too. Like it's so difficult to get your hands on some of this stuff and have like a total and complete working of all of the BTS content. And then my personal pet peeve, some of the older stuff isn't translated, because I know there's like a Wings concept book, which as a Wings girl, I want that concept book so badly, but it's only in Korean. And I'm just like, I still kind of want it just to have it, but it's like, unfortunately, I would literally have to, and there are plenty of armies who have done so, and I love them forever for it, but, I would then have to go and track down a translation and, have access to the and then it's like I can never actually read the book unless I have the translation with it. Honestly, T, that is very, very, very valid. There is so much to catch up on. And even somebody like me who loves to, know as much as possible. I've very, very far away from ever being able to catch up. There's like a lot of more recent lives that I'm out of date on. There's a lot of older lives that I'm out of date on. So yeah, I do think that sometimes it's a little bit impossible to catch up on everything. Yeah, Hitchhiker Hobbit, you are so right. Time for me to learn Korean. Which, I mean, I try a little, which with Duolingo, which is like, you know, the baby step of trying to learn Korean. And it is, for some reason, my brain just is like, language learning? Nah, we're not going to do that. We're not going to actually learn. Don't feed the bears? Yeah, for real. It's like if we could all just like live in isolation and dedicate ourselves to the study of BTS, yeah, we would be able to do it. But when it's when you're trying to fit in 12 years of content plus a little bit longer, if you are like looking at their pre-debut stuff, 12 plus years of content, it's a challenge. Yeah. Especially when you have like the past couple weeks, like we've had just even since my last live stream, where it's like, how many Weverse lives did we get from either JK or Jimin or Tae or, you know, in addition to like Jin's concerts and stuff? It's like, we have been busy. AK, I don't blame you. Yeah, the only thing that has kept me from like jumping into eBay for the Wings concept book is knowing that I can't read it, because otherwise I'm like, man, I want that. Yeah, I honestly, because I became an ARMY right before COVID started, I was lucky in the sense of being able to have that time to consume older content. And to, you know, even to consume the content that they were still doing during COVID, because yeah, it was good to have that time to be able to get invested in everything, because holy moly, there is so much stuff like that. Being able to watch all of like Run BTS during that time and being able to catch up on that, you know, because there's a lot. I mean, 150 plus episodes just of Run BTS, and that is not even including live broadcasts and concerts and other stuff. Yeah, you're so right. It's like catching up on BTS content is our part-time job, and then we need the full-time job to pay for all the BTS content. Accurate. Yeah, anybody who's trying to learn Korean, I definitely wish you luck. And I definitely recommend YouTube videos. Something that really helped me was I was trying to learn Hangul through other like sources, and it just wasn't clicking for me until I went on to YouTube and I actually found somebody who was basically saying you have to learn Hangul the way like a Korean school child would learn Hangul. And, you know, that really helped. And she kind of taught it the way like a kid would learn it. And that really helped cement it in my brain. But even so, I have like a very, very, very middling learning of Hangul. Like I can kind of sometimes read a little bit of it. But usually when the words are like super, super, super basic. The other frustrating thing too, talking about Run BTS and like translations and stuff, is, and I don't know if they've updated it because it's been a little while since I've checked on YouTube, but they put all of the Run BTS episodes on YouTube and then didn't put English subtitles on like a huge majority of them. And I'm just like, okay, they had subtitles on VLive. They have subtitles currently on Weverse. Why don't they have subtitles on YouTube? So that's just another like frustrating layer. Hitchhiker Hobbit, yeah, that's the other struggle where you're like, okay, I know what that word is, but what does it mean? And I have the little box sets that they put together, like the Learn Korean with BTS box sets. I have those, but even those are like very dense, and it's hard to have the time to sit down and go through them. So, yeah. I've tried to make like Korean flashcards for myself, but I've never gotten back to actually finishing making the flashcards. I think I did like numbers, colors, couple other like basic words, and just like never finished making them. Not enough time in the day. Yeah, Hitchhiker Hobbit, and like honestly, they just recently revamped or updated the Korean Duolingo course, and they've broken it. Like it's there are words that they just refuse to tell me what they mean. There's just like they'll be like, "Oh, here's a review word," and I'm like, "I've never seen this word in my life." So it's like so now I feel like I have to relearn everything that I like already started doing on Duolingo, and I'm just like, "Oh my gosh." Yes, I so agree about that with BTS content of just like why isn't there more translation on it? That is such a frustrating thing for me, and I'm always so grateful, and I give them a shout out in like every single video I've ever made. Bangtan translations and Dosa Bangtan. Like I would be lost without them. Bangtan translations, especially because they do Bangtan subs on YouTube, where they find if a video doesn't have a translation, they find it and they put one on there, and it's just like, beautiful. They're amazing. Quizlet. Oh, that's interesting. I've never heard of that. I'll have to check that out. And oh, don't feed the bears. I've always been very like interested in sign language. That's really interesting because yeah, I took German in high school, and high school was a lot longer ago than I care to admit. So I have been learning German off and on for a very long time, and I have like the most again like the most middling skill in German. Like I'm just like embarrassingly bad. And I'm just like I cannot believe that I've been learning German for as long as I have, both in school and on Duolingo, and I'm still like so bad at it. Yeah, AK. I would love the pictures, but yeah, I would definitely want to actually have like their thoughts and feelings and comments and stuff written for the Wings book. So I can't believe that there's like no English version of that. It makes me so sad. Yeah, Duolingo has been an interesting journey. And I don't usually read Reddit threads all that often, but the Duolingo Reddit is basically full of like really disgruntled people because every time they update Duolingo, they wreck it in some way, shape, or form. And I mean, I love it. I still do it every day, but holy moly, they do know how to break their courses when they quote unquote update them. It is so difficult. Yeah, so Hitchhiker Hobbit, that is what I was doing too. Anytime I was like, oh, most of the if it ends in that, like the nida, it's a verb. But now when they've updated the course, now there are words that aren't verbs that also end in that nida, and I'm just like, why? Like, and I mean, I guess you could kind of see where they have a verb form, but like they're not showing me the verb form of the word, and so I'm like they're almost showing me like the adjective, and I'm just like I'm so confused now, and like the one thing that I thought I'd learned, I'm just like hopeless. I'm just like I can't do this. Javine, I like it a lot. I wish there was an easier way, because I mean, Hybe is very strict about like, oh, you can't, don't share, don't live stream, don't do this and that with the different content, which is so unfortunate. I get that they want people to be able to like pay for the content, but if it's content that you can't see anymore, why am I not allowed to share it with people? Like, if it's a piece of content that you've made impossible to use, we should be able to share it, and we should be able to have like more accessible ways to watch those things. And yeah, it makes me really sad that they've made it so difficult for even us to like be able to just share content with each other. And like a lot of times when people put clips in like videos, like older content in just videos that people have made for fun, they get pulled down. I remember that's actually how I first learned that Bon Voyage was a thing when I was a newer army. I was watching somebody's funny edit video, and they had all of these really funny clips from the third season of Bon Voyage in Malta. And I was like, this stuff is great. Where is it from? And I did a little research and found out that it was Bon Voyage Malta, and that's what made me buy it. But that video was taken down by, at that time, it was when it was still on VLive, so I guess Naver, and they copyright struck it. And I'm like, that's so silly, because that's the thing that introduced me to the content and made me want to go buy the content. So it's just like, even if you just let the clips on YouTube live, then people would get more interested and would find newer stuff. It's very silly. Yeah. Yes, you'll have to come visit me in Florida, and we can have a viewing party. Everybody make the road trip or the airplane trip to come visit me. Hitchhiker Hobbit, yeah, I totally agree about that with Duolingo and how it can be really frustrating, and like they don't necessarily do the best job of teaching you like, hey, this is the informal, this is the formal, da da da. It's just like they're just like, here's a word, and I'm just like, great, that tells me nothing. Yeah, the prices for some of the BTS content are kind of shocking. Like we were saying earlier, when Hitchhiker Hobbit made the chart and shared it on our Discord server, some of the price for just a couple of concerts was astronomical. And it's just like, and for some of those, correct me if I'm wrong, Hitchhiker Hobbit, but I think some of those that you put in your spreadsheet, they weren't even like buy to own. They were just rentals, weren't they? Yeah, in Enthuse Beast, I'm right there with you. When it comes to like Duolingo and teaching grammar, my brain is not good at grammar in other languages. It never has been. It used to trip me up even when I was like learning German in school. But like at least when you're learning it in a classroom setting, you do have somebody who can explain to you why the grammar is the way it is. With Duolingo, they're just kind of like, figure it out. Yeah. Tell me why this is the word order. Exactly. That's how I feel too. It's just like, I guess I'm just going to have to learn it by trial and error that this is the order you want me to put words in. Yeah, well, if you come and visit me, if you make a road trip, then we have no copyright issues. That would actually be a really fun thing to try and plan at some point in the future. It would be like trying to meet up somewhere. I don't know how we do it because we are from all over the globe, but I would love that. That would be so fun. And honestly, coming to Florida for BTS is like the most valid reason to come to Florida. Let's be real. I definitely will let you know if I am ever in London. I would love to. There's a lot of travel that I would like to do that I just have never done. And now it's like the question of where is BTS going to go on concert, and like so then that's a whole other question too, cuz I've been saving money for a while because I was like, okay, if they come back and they only do one show and they only do like one concert in Korea, I want to make sure that I'm there. So I want to make sure I have enough money to travel. So I have like all this money saved to see what BTS does for their concert. And then we'll go from there. And that's, talking about like the language learning, that's a thing too, because I know that when as an English speaking American, I know that a lot of times when you go to certain countries that do expect a lot of like English speaking tourists, they do have things in English as well. But I've never liked the idea of just relying on that, and just being like, oh, I'm sure there'll be English there. It's like I'd like to know enough of like the language of the country that I'm visiting to be able to know basics, which is, something I'd really love to do with Korean, but it's just like my brain says, no, you are not going to learn. Okay, yeah, the humidity is no joke. Yep, I have my little BTS savings fund because um I've kind of thought a couple different times that it would be fun to go to a BTS concert in Korea, be able to see Korea while I'm there. And I've also always wanted to go to Japan, so I've thought it would be really cool to go to Japan while I'm over there. So, and I have friends who have been to Japan as well, so I can, kind of talk to them about recommendations and things. But um, we'll see where BTS decides to go. Hello, welcome to the stream. I'm glad you're here. We've just been having a fun, casual chat about BTS stuff, talking about like their upcoming, like speculating about where their concerts will be and stuff like that. So just having like a nice, fun chat here. Oh, and Florida, true to its nature, I think a new storm is blowing in to replace the one that we had this morning. So, so much for nice sunny day in Florida. But it'll be that's Florida for you, doing its Florida thing. So if you hear any like wind or rain, I do sit kind of close to a window, but it's a closed window, so hopefully it shouldn't be too loud. Nothing's really started yet, but it's starting to look ominous. AK, I have not had a chance yet. Every time I keep like going, oh, I should watch RM's speech. Something comes up to divert my attention, especially because I was like my brain was kind of solely taken up by the mono video for the past couple of, the past like probably week and a half because I was really pushing to get it done. So I have not watched it yet, but I really, really, really want to because I've seen some quotes and things come out of it. And I love his speeches so much. So I'm really excited to sit down and watch it and just see what he has to say. Ujavine, that's a really good goal. I like that a lot. Nothing beats a good speech from June, and I've just missed being able to hear him like give speeches and you know invite those conversations, and I've missed that so much while he's been in the military. So yeah, I'm very much looking forward to watching that and just enjoying that. Yeah, I think you're right. When the stream is done and I go eat lunch, that'll be what I what I watch when I'm eating lunch. You'll catch me on Discord being like, I just watched it, it was great. And what else have we had over the past few weeks? There's been kind of like so much content coming at us, kind of like fast and furious. I almost sort of uh like am a little bit skewed on what's even happened the past few weeks, because I know we had a ton of live broadcasts and Jin's concerts, and I'm just like, I know there was other stuff in there, but it's just like everything hit at one time, so sometimes the things get lost. I know. I feel like some of you have already gotten J Hope's concert movie. I feel like Hitchhiker Hobbit, I feel like you were talking about it on Discord, but I know we don't have it, at least here in this part of the United States, until like next week. So I think that's still kind of trickling out. Oh, very nice. Okay, cool. Cool, cool. Yeah, I was a little bit, I'm like, I don't even know, because my dates are so messed up. I'm like, I don't even know what date anything is coming out anymore. It's, again, it's been so fast and furious. I'm just like, I'm just holding on for dear life. And yeah, the idea of doing like the concert movies in IMAX is really, really exciting. Um, I really haven't had much of a chance to like do any IMAX type BTS stuff. But if this is the way we're going to release concerts, I'm here for it. Like, yeah, okay, yeah, that's when it's gonna be out here as well. So that makes sense that it was a preview, and then the actual concert itself is gonna be. I wasn't sure if they were gonna be like staggering its release, because goodness only knows with the way they release things in different areas of the world. So I'm like, are we all getting it on the same day? Hitchhiker Hobbit, I bet that was really, really cool. Just the big screen and the those intense speakers. If only they could do it like 4D, like some of the theme park rides here in Florida, and like, like we'll use Jin's concert as an example. Can we get sprayed with water, like when when they're doing the water fight and so what? That'd be great. That's right. They announced that there's gonna be a second season of Are You Sure? So we've had a lot of announcements and things coming out lately too. A lot of stuff. And I hope everybody who's going to see the movie, whether you're seeing it regularly or in IMAX, I hope you guys have a great time. And you'll have to tell me about that when we do our next live stream. Especially like Javine, you're going to be meeting up with people and kind of like making a day of it. You'll have to tell me how that goes. So with IMAX, and feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, anybody who knows a little bit more about this than I do, but with IMAX, the screens are much larger, and the one and only IMAX film that I've ever seen, they curve a little bit, so it kind of gives you more of like an immersive experience, and I believe that the sound is usually louder. Like, I think it has either like better speakers or more speakers. Correct me if I'm wrong. Yeah, I'm not sure if, like, because I know not all theaters are IMAX equipped, so I'm not sure if it's just like, hey, if your theater doesn't have it in IMAX, you get it in regular, or if, what the difference is. And honestly, I think for a lot of regular movies, I feel like the IMAX theater would actually probably make me a little bit nauseous because I'm very motion sickness prone. But with a concert, I bet it's awesome. And I mean, like, movie theater sound is obviously just super loud in general. So I'm not sure if IMAX is necessarily louder, but that's always kind of the impression that I got hearing other people talk about, like, IMAX, oh, IMAX volume. Like, I was in the IMAX theater and it was sounded so good. So I don't know. Okay, yeah, I was like, just based on how people have talked about IMAX in the past, I'm like, I feel like there's probably a sound thing, which makes so much sense for a concert, like to be able to have like really, really good sound. Yeah, and I imagine different, like, that's definitely, I mean, so, something that drives me nuts about a lot of entertainment here in America is there tends to be this idea that the louder it is, the more entertaining it is, and it's just like, no, that's not true. It just sometimes is loud, like, and I don't need it to be that loud. But for a concert, I feel like it would be kind of interesting. But yeah, sometimes loud is too loud. Hello, welcome to the stream. Glad to have you here. Anybody who is like, if this is your first time hanging out with us in a live stream chat, let us know where you're listening from. It's really fun to hear where everybody's located. We're a super, super diverse group. Javine, yeah, it's always interesting, like different countries, and cultures and things, like have different opinions on that. So it really is interesting how you can go from one country where they're like, hey, the louder the better, we love it, and then another country where they're like, nope, keep it quiet. Hitchhiker Hobbit, yeah, no, I honestly feel the same way. That is honestly valid. I always feel like I have a song, kind of a BTS song of some kind, low level, playing in my brain. I feel like most of today, it's been Jin's song to me today, because that was the last one of the concert. So I feel like that's been low key playing in my brain all morning. Thank you so much for being here. I'm so glad that you stopped by. As always with my live streams, anything that you missed will be up on the channel later as like its own kind of like watch back video. So if you want to see what you missed, you absolutely can. But thank you so much for being here. I really appreciated it. Yeah, me too. That's a or sometimes I will even, depending on what the song is. Like this will especially happen to me if the song is kind of a new song. Like this happened when Jin released Echo, and I was just kind of marinating in those songs. I will go to sleep with a song very firmly stuck in my head, and I will wake up and the song will just start it all up again. Like sleep was just a diversion, and now I'm back to listening to this song. My brain is like, good, you're awake. More of this song. And my mom and I always laugh about it because we are so susceptible to the suggestion. Like it'll be like, oh, I have XYZ song stuck in my head. And then I'll go, oh, really? Because I have this one stuck in my head. And then, like, we'll flip flop. She'll get the song stuck in her head that I just mentioned, and I'll get the song stuck in my head that she just mentioned. I'm like, we are so easily influenced. AK, yeah, that's an interesting question. I feel like I'm probably going to mess up the numbers, but I feel like Boris City Magazine did I think a live broadcast where she was talking about that very thing, and I feel like the numbers were like 57% of the people, and I'm not sure if this was like a survey that she took or a survey that she found. I think it was like 57% of the people who answered were Army who had become Army before the solo work, and 43% were people who had become after. And like I said, I think that's um, kind of messed up on the numbers, but like I think I'm close enough to, what she found. And I am very interested too because I feel like people who became Army during the solo era definitely had a different experience and a different journey than those of us who became Army while they were all still doing OT7 projects. So I'm very curious. Kind of like how did their journeys go, because I'm sure that was a very unique experience. Hitchhiker Hobbit, that reminds me of how I became Army during Map of the Soul 7, but not because of Map of the Soul 7. It's always funny when like the timing lines up like that. Javine, I like that idea a lot. That is really, really fun. I could do that either as a video or as a live broadcast. We could kind of dive into it like when we get a little bit closer to the comeback and the album itself. We could do something like that. That'd be really fun. Um, because yeah, I think I would have to sit down and really think about my predictions. We discuss a lot of like themes and concepts that we see coming back up again and again and again in like other things that BTS have been doing. We talk about that a lot on the Discord server. Whoop, what is that noise even? My dad's phone's going off. um, yes, I'm here. Can you hear me? Give me one second, guys. I am gonna put you on the BRB screen. Sorry about that. I have literally never heard a phone make that sound in my entire life. So I'm like, what was that? So I had to go see. Anyway, yes, I am here. I am so sorry about that. And I'm just catching up on what I missed. Oh, that's really interesting of armies becoming armies because of things like when Tay threw out like the first picture, things like that. It's always kind of really interesting to see the more random ways that people become army. I love it because my wave is kind of random as well. I had found Mic Drop by them, and like that was the only song that I had heard. And then I found Namjoon's speech at the UN, and I was like, I'm here, I'm sold. Because I had watched a couple other like funny BTS related videos, and like I thought they were really like nice guys, and like they just seemed like really wholesome and down to earth and like really friendly. But the speech at the UN is what cemented me. So BTS comeback bingo, that is so fun. That yeah, AK, that's where I'm like, I'd really have to, I think, sit down and kind of like make a list like you guys were saying. Because I don't even know. I know I would personally, I would love an album that has the same energy as something like Wings or Mott 7, but of course that's because I'm really biased and I love Wings and Mott 7. So of course I would say that. But otherwise, yeah, I'm not even sure what we're going to get theme wise. I'm not sure what we're going to get song wise. Are we only going to get group songs, or are we going to have a return to like the way we used to do things? I don't know. I will definitely have to give that some thought, make a list, and then we'll either have a video or a live stream. I think that'd be a lot of fun. It's always because I know we've had conversations on Discord and stuff too, Hitchhiker Hobbit, about kind of like you being a little bit of a newer army, but like anybody who's willing to hang out with me and listen to me blab always seems like they've been army a lot longer. Like I always respect those of you guys who are like a lot more recent and want to dive in as hard as you are, because you guys, I think it would be so easy to just be like, nope, I that's too much stuff. But for those of you who are newer army and want to dive in, all the respect in the world. Like, it's you guys have old army souls, even though you're what we would call baby army. You've got old army souls. I love it. Hello to everybody who's just joined the stream more recently. Glad to have you here. Where are you all listening from today? Yeah, Enthuse Beast. I totally agree. Hitchhiker Hobbit, I love that description. Honestly, that's kind of what happened with me as well. I literally went from knowing very little about BTS to within like a couple of weeks, I was an army theorist when I became an army. It happens that fast sometimes. It really does. And honestly, sometimes I'm actually even surprised because the time has gone so fast. Um, And whenever I think to myself, like, this February, I will have been in Army for 6 years. And I'm just like, that number doesn't even sound right. But it's true. And it's just like the time goes by so quick. Yeah, don't feed the bears. I think you're so right. I think all of us, in some way, shape, or form, we kind of all are baby army, because there's so, like we were saying earlier, there's so much that we don't have or know or experience. So, we all kind of have that feeling of being a baby army sometimes. And hello, welcome. If you just joined, glad to have you here. Thank you so much for joining us today. I hope you all have been having a really good week so far. And thank you for spending part of your Sunday here with us. Or maybe even your early Monday morning, depending on where you're listening from. Oh, Hitchhiker Hobbit, that's so awesome. That's really exciting. Before, just be careful as you start to buy physical merchandise, because before you know it, you will have a whole collection. Just like me, you will have an entire room full of BTS merch. Yeah, now that we've been talking about the song Run BTS, I think it's very valid to have Run BTS stuck in your head now. Yeah, T, with some of the BT21 character merch is surprisingly difficult to get your hands on. And then, in addition to actual, like, licensed BTS merch, then there's the whole wide world of Etsy. Yeah, one album I feel like is always like, my first physical album was To the Surprise of Nobody, given when I became Army. My first physical album was Map of the Soul 7, and it literally has like a place of honor on my shelf. Like, all of my other BTS albums are kind of arranged like books, but Map of the Soul 7 is facing outward, so you can see the 7, and it's just like it's prominently placed on my shelf. Yeah. The first album it has that special place. And especially with me being like a physical media type of person and wanting to have the DVDs, I have tons and tons of DVDs now, just DVDs of concerts, the Memories DVDs, other things like that. So it's like I have a whole bunch of extra box sets that most people probably wouldn't even go for. Yeah. I having moved a couple of different times, having that much stuff is overwhelming. Oh, yeah, Hitchhiker Hobbit Proof is a great one to get. Yeah, you've got like all the quintessentials right there. And T, yeah, the I love like having the BT21 characters as like a signal to other armies. There was a time where I was at work and I was like doing a transaction with this guest, and I looked at her bag and I said, "Is that Chimmy on your bag?" And she looked at me like, "Yes." And I was like, "I love BTS," so I recognized him right away. She gasped, like full on gasped, and flipped her bag around, and the part that she had been holding against her body, she flipped to face me, and it was covered in BTS pins and buttons and all of this stuff. And then we just started having like this really excited conversation while my coworkers looked at us like, what just happened? So yes, BT21 characters on your purse are like the best signal. Hello, welcome to the stream. Glad to have you here. I hope you've been having a good week. Hey, Metaloop. Not super much. We haven't been theorizing too much. We've kind of been talking about how it would be fun to do a live stream before the actual comeback, talking about what we want the comeback to have and like some of our predictions. But we didn't really get into like too many specifics of like actual like theories and themes and things like that. We were talking more like, do we think they'll do group songs, solo songs, and subunit songs, or just group songs? More stuff like that. So we haven't gotten into like any deep theorizing stuff yet. Yeah, pins are always a good thing to buy. I have not spoken about my BTS universe iceberg yet, but yes, we were having a chat on Discord the other day talking about the different layers of like getting kind of into the BU, and I've made an iceberg chart so far. So when we do the deep dive into the BTS universe concept, when we do that live stream, y'all get to see the the iceberg that I made with help from an online template. Yeah, today I wanted to just have like a nice casual chat to catch up with you all, since it's been a little while, since it's been about a month since my Wings live stream. So I just wanted to come in and say hi, and then I think we'll get to the meat of the BU on the 23rd. Here, let me jump up to my housekeeping screen here. November 23rd is when I was thinking we'd do like a nice deep dive into the BU, because the Most Beautiful Moment in Life Part 2's anniversary is on November 30th. So I thought it would be nice to kind of do that close to HYYH Part 2. I don't know. We were actually just having that conversation earlier about like the amount of armies who became army during the solo era versus how many were army before the solo era. So I'm not sure if a lot of people who are a little bit newer are even super aware of the BU. So that's definitely something that we can get into as well, of just like, what is the BU? Where did it come from? Why does it exist? So like, there are a lot of people out there, a lot of armies who have been army a lot longer than I have, and who are like, have a lot more experience with the BU, who have done really in-depth work with it. So definitely I am nowhere near as skilled at unpacking the BU as they are, but we can definitely do like a primer at the very least. Yeah, that's kind of how I would describe myself as well. Don't feed the bears. It's like I have like a mid knowledge of the BU. I'm definitely not as skilled as like some of there are some like very foundational videos out there of breaking down the BU, and I'm nowhere on that level. But Yeah, I haven't watched X Celeste's video yet because I want to kind of write down some of my own thoughts and interpretations on the BU before I bring in like somebody else's theories. But from what I've kind of gathered, that video is a really, really, really comprehensive, like this happens here and this happens there and here are the themes and the symbols. And so there are people who have done really amazing work. And the thing with the BU is we've never really gotten direct confirmation of what the BU is saying. We've heard the very vague, oh, some of the theories are very close to being correct. We've gotten like that vague response, but we don't know anything specific. And Metaloop, I haven't really been discussing the mono video super much. Just kind of mentioned that it's finally out, and have been thanking everybody for the really warm reception for it, but I haven't really done any like unpacking of it here in this live stream. But if you had anything you wanted to add or any questions, please let me know. Oh, awesome. Yeah, I think we'll have a lot of fun getting to unpack the BU and just because, like, I kind of scratched the surface a little bit when we were talking about wings, and just kind of made some references like, oh, look at the references to the BU in wings, but I didn't really, really get to unpack it. So I think it'll be really fun to get kind of in all of the BU stuff. Yeah, T, we've talked about that a couple of times, about like how we're still waiting for something for HYYH's anniversary. And I remember back when I did like my live stream for back in when it was the anniversary of the first part of HYYH, and being like, oh, I don't know what we'll get, but we'll probably get it soon. And it's just like we've gotten nothing for that. So I'm wondering if, like you said, if maybe we will get some BU content in the album instead. And we've mentioned that a couple of different times just through our theorizing here together of will the BU continue. And a lot of us, I think, come down on thinking that, yeah, the BU will continue some way. I personally would really like that. I think it would be a really cool return to form. So I would be down for that. Yeah, that would be interesting too, because then that means that we would be getting it relatively soon if we were getting something, but who knows? Who knows? But either way, I would love to discuss the BU with all of you, because it, like I said earlier in this live stream, we definitely wouldn't be able to unpack everything, goodness knows, but it would be a lot of fun. Oh, Metaloop is asking about the symbol of the moon in BTS's work. So I think there's a couple reasons for that. One, I do think if you want to just take it on face value, I do think the moon is just a beautiful symbol. Like, I mean, I know I've always loved the moon even before things like Moonchild or the song Moon. I've always, I've been a nighttime person. I've loved the moon, that's why I love Moonchild. I've always been more comfortable at night. So I think that that's part of it, is it's just feeling more comfortable at night, loving the moon, loving using the moon as a symbol. But I also think the moon just has a sort of poetic power to it that I think makes it a very attractive subject for somebody like Namjoon, who's a poet at heart. I think there's something about the moon with it being changeable, the moon going through cycles, and it's kind of mysterious. I think it's always been kind of treated as like a mysterious symbol, but it's also really interesting because when you compare it to like the sun, you can't go to the sun, but you can go to the moon. And I think that the physical element of the moon is really interesting, because even though it's always shifting and changing, the physicalness of it, like the fact that it does have that physicality, is really interesting. I want to also see, I have notes somewhere within my vast array of notes about something interesting that I had observed while researching. I think it's in my notes for Mutts. Let me see. You know what? Let me just do a search in my document for the word moon rather than try and scroll through everything. And also, in terms of moon, you also have Yoongi's song Moonlight off of D2. Oh, okay. So yeah, so that was actually, they talk about it in the book that Jungian scholar Murray Stein wrote about Map of the Soul 7. He also mentions the same thing about the moon being symbolic of phases. So kind of, again, that sort of changing characteristic. So the moon as a symbol is kind of used to describe phases and cycles of light and dark. And so that is, I think, very much a theme that attracts BTS as well, is the idea of like things going through cycles. And that light and dark is very especially used in Map of the Soul as a big image. So I think that would be really, really an attractive subject for them as well. I also, the other thing that I always kind of find interesting of using the moon as a symbol, and I don't actually know where this came from, I definitely like to look it up, is I always think that a lot of times the moon is also used as a symbol of insanity, like the word lunatic and things like that, or, the idea of like howling at the moon and things like that. And so it's just like the moon is beautiful and mysterious, but also kind of like a symbol of kind of like different power, so it's kind of interesting to think of it in that sense too. Ooh, yeah, Metaloop. I like that analysis too, and that description as well. That's very, very true as well. And it's always interesting to me because I think there's a bit of an association with like nighttime being kind of scary, like that's a big thing in media and in creative endeavors. Is just like nighttime is when scary, unpredictable things happen. And so I love that for BTS a lot of times they use nighttime as like a more positive symbol, like in Moonchild, being like, oh, we're the people who thrive at night, and we're the people who feel more connected to the world when it's nighttime. I just kind of like flipping that around and making it so that nighttime isn't kind of mysterious and scary. It's more like welcoming and comforting. I think that's a really, really cool theme. Yeah, that's Don't Feed the Bears. I love that description too. The moon has flawed beauty, which is why I think the song Moon, Jin's song Moon off of Map of the Soul 7 is really beautiful too, because that it plays with that idea of like, will you continue to look at me and start seeing flaws, and like, will you still love me if you look at me and see flaws, which is a really beautiful theme as well. Meta loop. Other than the song Pluto, which is also called 134340 off of Love Yourself Tear. Yeah, I think it's Tear, not Her. I'm pretty sure it's Tear. I don't think they specifically mention many other planets. I do know that June's rap verse in the song Wishing on a Star mentions Mars, but I don't think they really go super in depth to like other like singing about other planets super much. Yeah, T, you're definitely right about that too. I love the line in Moonchild of "can't breathe in the sunlight," and just kind of seeing daytime as a time of pressure, and seeing daytime as a time period in which people are looking at you and they're expecting things of you and they're judging you, as opposed to nighttime when it's like you have your own time and it's like other people are kind of not as present anymore and you get to be your own self is really interesting. Yeah, that's true, Hitchhiker Hobbit. That's another thing that I was thinking of too, that like the moon being a thing that reflects light, like it's reflecting the light of the sun. So that's really interesting as well, that it's like kind of a knowing, especially like when Namjoon did Moonchild, like knowing his poetic mind, I can see him being really drawn to all of those the attributes of the moon, of kind of being this, unique thing, and just like really, I can really see that speaking to him in his poetry. That's true. I mean, microcosmos, that's like you get the whole universe in that one. And I mean, even though it's technically Coldplay's song instead of like BTS's song, you could even include My Universe in there. That's a little bit more symbolic of like a person being your universe, and in BTS's case, Army is their universe, but they still use a lot of the space imagery to kind of convey the idea of the universe in that, which is really, I like the metaphor that they use. And J-Hope and Yoongi's rap parts use that a lot, of just kind of like talking about the stars and the galaxy. Yeah, you're so right, Hitchhiker Hobbit. I think the moon makes a lot of sense as a theme and a symbol when you kind of think of it in that notion and that idea of them like reflecting us, um, which is really really cute. So that's a really good point too. If that connects with like any of like the Greek and Roman gods, because we've talked about there being like a lot of Greek and Roman god symbolism, especially in stuff now. So I know that there's it's kind of difficult in mythology, because I know that in like certain myths, the moon is represented by one god or goddess, and then like attributes associated with the moon are represented by somebody else. So like when I think of goddess who is represented by the moon, I always think of Artemis. But I also know that there's other, interpretations of like the moon itself is like different than, like there's a different god associated with that. So I that might get a little bit more in-depth research might be required there, but it is kind of interesting. Something that I know about Artemis off the top of my head, though, is that Artemis is a protector, which is kind of interesting for BTS. Right? There's so many layers of symbols and symbolism, and I know that something that Namjoon said with Mono was he was like, he talked at the beginning of like his live broadcast where he broke down the album, saying, you know, sometimes when you write poetry, sometimes you just pick a word because you like it, or you pick a theme or a symbol because you like it. And so I'm sure that there's some level of that goes into his writing of just like, hey, he just really wanted to use this as a symbol. But when you consider the depth that even just using a symbol contains, which is something that I love about doing any type of media analysis, is it's just like using, even just the act of using something as a theme carries with it like a lot of context and history because of how that theme has been developed through other media and other storytelling. Oh yes, you're right, T. And then it's Selena and Helios for the sun. So it's like you have that interesting context as well. So it's like you have Artemis and Apollo, which are both kind of considered like the moon and the sun, but then you also have Selena and Helios. So it's like that's really interesting too. I'm a big fan of Egyptian mythology and stuff, and I know that like the Egyptian gods would sometimes get really confusing for just that same reason, where it's like you'd have a, like for instance the sun, you'd have a god who was like the sun god, but then they also had a god that represented like the actual physical sun itself, you know, and so it's like those are two different things. So sometimes that can require like some research and mapping out. Right, Metaloop, you're so right. And I love things like that where it's just like, you know, you have the surface level interpretation, then you have like the slightly deeper interpretation, then you have the really deep interpretation where everything kind of goes out to different directions. And you can unpack so much depth from, it's like, why was this used? Well, here's all the reasons why it might be relevant to BTS. And that's always really interesting to me, because you can just take something from just being just a symbol to being a whole commentary on their message and, you know, their music and what they stand for, which is just really neat. Yeah, Don't Feed the Bears, I so agree. That's the fun of it, is just really, you know, climbing into that analysis and being like, let me just dig as deep as I can possibly take this, which is something that I love to do. I love looking at a symbol and being like, let me follow it all the way down as far as I can go with it to really, you know, see what it means. And sometimes I don't know, you know, if BTS has planned some of these things deliberately, or if they're just like kind of talking about the Dionysus, the things I analyze with Dionysus and the performances in the song. Some of the attributes of Dionysus fit BTS so well that it's just like, did they mean for all of these associations to exist, or is it just that perfect? Like in that video, I talked about how the followers of Dionysus in Greek mythology were considered mad women. And I said I find that really interesting because how often do people who don't understand BTS and ARMY call ARMY crazy fangirls? And so like in that way, we are almost like the followers of Dionysus. And it's just like that. I don't even know if BTS intended that to be part of the Dionysus metaphor, but it really fits. And as a writer myself, I know that sometimes when you're crafting a story or a piece of work like that, sometimes those happy accidents do happen where you're just like, I didn't even intend for that to work, but it does work. And, you know, it's always like the best feeling when you're like, hey, this all really is coming together, and it all really, all the blanks are being filled in because everything just works together in tandem so well. All right. Well, I figure we'll start wrapping up the discussion for today. But if anybody had any other thoughts, questions, any like theme stuff that you wanted to talk about, let me know. If there was any other thoughts that you had from the discussion today, or anything else that you wanted to ask for like upcoming stuff, So just to go over what I went over at the beginning of the video as well, Mono video is out now. Literally just posted that yesterday. Still working on my last 2 Welcome Home BTS videos, so those will be coming to you hopefully within the next few weeks. I'll keep you guys updated on those. And then on November 23rd is going to be my next live stream, and that's going to be where we get into the BTS universe deep dive. Since I know that the BU is very overwhelming, and there's a lot that goes into the BU, if you all have any questions about, like, if you want to watch any videos to be prepared for it, or you want to, like, come in with any type of additional knowledge, let me, like, if you have any questions about that, let me know, either if you're on my Discord server, or you can leave, like, a comment on one of my posts in the community section, or even if you want to go back and watch this live stream later when it's up on the channel, leave me a comment there, and I'll let you know. Yeah, Metaloop, that's really interesting. It's kind of funny with those 2 songs, because when Forever Rain and Stop the Rain, because when June was talking about Mono in, like, the live broadcast that he did for it back when it came out in 2018, he kind of made a comment about, like, I feel every artist is only allowed to do a song about the rain once, and he wanted Forever Rain to be, like, his song for the rain. So it's interesting that then he comes back with the collab on Stop the Rain. So that's really interesting as well. The rain as a theme and a metaphor is interesting to me as well, because, again, kind of like the moon and nighttime, I think a lot of times people do consider the rain to be, like, a little bit more of, like, I don't want to say negative theme, but, like, a little bit more of, like, a melancholy theme of just, like, if you're being rained on. And so when Namjoon did Forever Rain, it's really interesting to me that he turned that theme around and made it something that he was actually hoping for. And then it's very interesting to contrast with the way the rain is portrayed in Stop the Rain. So it's like, I feel like you have 2 different views of, like, the rain could be a good thing or it could be a bad thing. And, kind of, it just, maybe it even depends on your outlook. It depends on your stage of life, how you look at it. But it's kind of interesting that you have 2 different interpretations of what the rain could mean. Any other final thoughts or any other things that you had wanted to mention, let me know, or any other questions or anything. I think so. Are you sure too? I think I saw that they're going to Switzerland. Is that right? I think that's what they showed. All right, so I'm going to start wrapping things up here and saying my goodbyes, but thank you all so much for being here today and for hanging out with me, having a lot of fun chats. I'm really glad that I got to see you guys again after a few weeks. And yes, I will see you again on November 23rd for that next live stream. But thank you all so much for the awesome discussions and for spending part of your Sunday with me. I was really glad to have all of you here. And I really hope to see you on that live stream on November 23rd as well. And I hope you guys all have a good rest of your week and a good few, 2 weeks until I see you guys on November 23rd. And those of you in my Discord server, I know I'll see you a lot sooner, but but thank you everybody so much for being here. Thank you for all the support as always. Really appreciate you guys so much. You guys have a lovely rest of your day as well, and I will see you again really soon. Bye everybody. Have a good one. Thanks for being here today. Bye-bye.